Wholeness. Wholeness. Welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Najra Rashida, and may this message find you well and whole. Yes, I love jamming out to classical music. That's pretty much the only music I can stand. You know, I'll listen to pop music. I'll listen to what's on the radio, but I constantly find myself switching and changing the dial repeatedly. You know, it's... Ugh. But classical music, I was raised on it. That's a pretty much, outside of popular music, that's, I remember my earliest exposure to it. I was a kid. My stepdad was, he was an opera singer, so we listened to it all the time. Especially when we were driving. The breath. This is the day before the last day of my spring break. I wish we had a whole nother week. I feel like I need at least 2 weeks to recover. In this type of work where it's mentally demanding, I need at least 2 weeks. That's one thing I miss about Europe. Like, they had a whole, Europe's, they know how to do the whole vacation. The pace of life is much slower in Europe and other places of the world too, but I've only traveled to Canada and Europe. And even though it's as part of the Western Empire, Europe, it's just, okay, there's pros and cons, right? Pros, you get time off. They call it holiday over there, okay? Holiday. A holy day. Holiday. Man, over there, though, you just respect it. Like quality time. You're not just taking one day off. Here in the U.S., the cons over there is that things would close down in an inappropriate time. I remember when I first opened up my French banking account, bro, oh my God. And look, it was the first semester, like not even a month into it, I think, and I went into the bank, the teller, and she looked at me both like I had two heads, like, who the F do you think you are? She looked at her clock, then she pointed at the clock on the wall, and she was speaking in French. And she said, she was like, Tomani, well, I can't remember what she said. She was like, we close at this time. This is déjeuner. This is lunchtime. We'll come back in 2 hours. There was one time I was going out, meeting up with friends. I mixed up my PIN code, and the machine ate my card. The machine ate it. In the U.S., you stick your card in, you don't have the right number or whatever, and then you can take your card back. No. Not over there. Over there, at that time, the chip was something new, right? Over here, U.S. hadn't caught up to that. God. But here... So over there, yeah, things would close down at like 6, 7 p.m. You're just kind of like, what? Unless you lived in Paris or Berlin, or you're in Spain and you're in Barcelona, or the big major cities. Usually things just were slow, much slower. But here in the US, it's like you take time off for yourself. You take time for you. A mental health day. Whoo! It's gotten a little bit better, but it's like still there's this underlying like guilt. Like you feel guilty for taking a day off. Like my colleagues, they're like, hey, so I'm just letting you know that I'm just taking next week off, and if you don't have a legit reason as to why you're not coming in, then people have this indirect subconscious way of making you feel guilty for not showing up. Hustle culture in the U.S. Has got to stop. I don't know what it is. I know parts of Asia are obsessed. Like I know in Japan, South Korea, and China, from what I've heard and studied online, like they are also they work themselves to a nub. And here in the US, it's like work, like constant, and work through your burnout. Like, and I see burnout in education and healthcare, and it's really unhealthy. So anyway, the breath. That was a long spiel. Maybe this should be about mental exhaustion. Let's make it about mental exhaustion. Something I've been struggling with that I mentioned so far in a couple of my videos. This week during my spring break, I had a whole goals set of all the things I would do. When the mind is tired, when the mind is fatigued, it wins. It's one thing when you are like recovering from physical fatigue. It's uncomfortable, but your mindset is so strong that you're able to get up and do it again the next day. For those of you who are, you're an athlete or were an athlete, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You get up and you do it. And yes, it hurts so bad, but it hurts so good because you know that it's good for you. It's good for the mind. But mental fatigue, I have found in the past few months, on my days off, I'll sleep through the duration of my alarm clock, which goes off at around 4:30 a.m. in the morning, okay? And I will just stare. And then I'll doze back off to sleep, and then I'll wake up, the sun is high in the sky, and I lay there. I lay there and I listen to my rambling, raving thoughts of all the things that need to be done, all the things that I did not do, and then this wave of guilt. Oh God. I've gotten a lot better with not like comparing my life, myself, the ins and outs of my life to other people. And that actually was never really a big issue for me anyway. But now it's like it's not an issue per se, but it's like when I don't meet my own personal standard or my own personal goal, I really and I know it's mental fatigue, because I'm the type of person I can get up at 4:35 a.m. and do Ashtanga practice for 2 hours, rest for 15 minutes, do my 30-minute meditation, silent meditation, write down my affirmations, write down what I'm grateful for, wash up, get going. I might drink a hot tea or a hot beverage and, go off and start my day. I have that type of like drive where there was one time in my life I was working without a vehicle. I was working 2 jobs, one job on the north side of town and the other on the southeast side of town. And I was running like 3 to 4 miles every other day, like that. But there have been seasons in my life where I would just be so mentally fatigued and so mentally stretched, I just couldn't do it. Like, there's only so many hours where you're staring at a screen at work, and then you have to come home and stare at the screen some more. Work-life balance, that doesn't fucking exist. Excuse my French. Doesn't exist. In the US, ha 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 ha. That's a joke. Work-life balance. Get out of here. It should never be that way. You do, like, optimal, from what I've read online anyway, like the optimal hours per day that a human being is like, they're at their peak and that they can perform the best is between 4 to 6 hours. 4 to 6 hours. People working way more than that, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and that doesn't include if you have a family to feed and raise, or if you have grad work, or you got a second job. I'm not here to gripe or complain. This is a human moment, because I know I'm not the only one, right? but with the breath. How can I apply the breath to mental fatigue? A lot of the time through meditation, people avoid meditation because they begin to hear their inner thoughts. Some people, meditation is too triggering for them because their mental inner thoughts will take them down a dark black hole that they can't or don't have the fortitude to get themselves out of. And that's just facts. That's just the truth. It's not, nothing good, bad, happy, sad about it. It is what it is. A lot of the time, many people would benefit from just sitting, meditating, and detaching and just listening to their inner world. You know what I'm saying? Aw. I just love watching little Denny people. She looks like she's about 2.5, her little legs. But yeah. So it's like, there was a moment in time where I was just a cashier at it's so crazy, like, where life has taken me. Or I have allowed life to take me. You know what I'm saying? Life is a ride for sure. And sometimes we have control of the reins and other times we don't. But it was one of those seasons in my life where I was starting over, and I just picked up a simple job as a cashier at a chain store in suburbia, Arizona. Didn't have a car. I lived with housemates. I actually lived with yogis, to be honest. And I started practicing yoga with them, Ashtanga with them. And it was just such a relaxed lifestyle. I wasn't stressing about anything. I made enough to make rent. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I walked to the grocery store all the time. I also had a bike. So I bike or I walked to the grocery store, sat out, went to the parks, just really just chill life. And I'm glad for that season of my life. I truly am. Because the mental fatigue, I wasn't experiencing mental fatigue. And I'll have to say physical sometimes because of the I was studying in Ashtanga and doing that 6 times a week, 2 hours a day for 6 times a week. I was physically strong, very, very strong. I would have to say my muscular strength was, but now, it's different. It's like I know that I need this. This is benefiting me in some way that I can't truly comprehend at the moment because I'm in the middle of it. But yeah, sometimes I was thinking to myself, because I'm not a runner, but I'm more of, like, I like to be in flow with life. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, what would my life look like if I lived, overseas again? Passport's still good, but my contacts are almost zero. I may, if I think really hard, I'd have to really dig I have at least maybe 2 contacts. And one's in Eastern Europe and the other one is like a sister of one of my really good friends from undergrad and college, and she's in Scandinavia. So I don't know, it would be almost like starting over again. And I thought, what about French? I could always go back to France. But I told myself if I ever went back to France, it would be in the Sud de France, southern part of France, in a small town. Those grève is too much for me. The French know how to riot, okay? U.S. is too spread out, all right? But the French, they know how to go on strike and they know how to riot. When they're ticked off with their government, they don't play around. They don't mess around. I don't want to get caught up in that. I really don't. Europe is going through some stuff, that's for sure. And I don't want to make this political, but it's like, man, in the U.S., though, you can make your life however you wish. I've seen so many different ways of living in the US that you don't see. They train us to live the 9 to 5. Slave wage, all right? Like, it's just another form of slavery, okay? It just is. You're part of the system. You pay taxes, you pay your rent, or you're paying a mortgage. You're saving up for a retirement, which has become a joke. Because I've noticed a lot of 60, 70-year-olds are taking up a lot of part-time jobs, going back to work, entering into, or maybe leaving, for retirement second or third time. Not even joking. A lot of retired teachers are going back and doing substitute work for double the amount of the pay. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, it's like I have seen people live completely off grid. When I say completely off grid, they don't have plumbing. Like, one guy was breaking bread with this family in Wisconsin, and they, I told him I was vegetarian, and he was a man. He was a father, and I think he had a wife. And he said, "Yeah, we hunt. I hunt for my food." I was like, "Oh, you don't go to the market?" "No, I hunt with bow and arrow sometimes." I said, "Bow and arrow, you guys, a bow and arrow, not even a gun, not a shotgun, or not shotgun. Shotgun's when you're trying to protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because that can ruin the meat." But he said bow and arrow. I was like, wow. I mean, there are people who live like, they keep up with the homestead, but then they manage a professional life. There are people who are all about doing everything right within the system. So they have the mortgage, they're paying off their student loans, they have $2.1 million in retirement so far because they're making six figures. Like, everything is falling in order for them, and they seem okay with it. They seem happy. Then you have people who do make six figures and they're miserable, or you have people who are paying rent and they live paycheck to paycheck and they're okay with that. Or you have people, like, I'm just going to say my dad, because he wouldn't have any trouble with me saying this, but he's one of those people that are just very disgruntled, and he sees the whole scam and everything, with the rent, and never owning anything, never owning any property. It's just, there's so many different ways of living, or you can live nomadically. And it's like, I always thought of the US, living in the US this way. You make your life what you make your life out to be. It is what you make it. And I think that's the gift of the land, the energy, the spirit of this country. And I'm not trying to politicize it. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just the energy and the spirit of this place. You can really recreate yourself and mold yourself however you see fit. And I think that's a bit harder to do in other countries. That is not your motherland, your mother tongue. In some regards, I've always seen myself as like the Buadin or Bedouin, the nomadic tribes in North Africa, or gypsy. People say the gypsy is a derogatory term, and I don't believe so at all. I have the utmost respect for that culture. Truly. Or a nomad. And so yeah, it's like I want, if anything, to be established in my skill set, and then I could possibly think about opportunities of traveling again internationally. But climate, interesting times. But yeah, just breathing through the mental fatigue, not beating myself up. I need to stop that. It's the guilt of, I should have done that, I should have done this. And it's like, it's not going to help you. And I find that there will always be work to do. There will always be work that needs to be done. So why stress out about it and feel guilty about it? You know? Anyway, my dad got me some cool books. I'm going to start reading. I'm probably going to take a nap, meditate, maybe do some artwork. I haven't done artwork in a while. I'm ordering an instrument. That's exciting. That's exciting. She is so cute. Oh my goodness. I love children. It just seems like such a far away realm to me. Motherhood. My brother, I was talking to him recently, and he said he was talking to our mom, and they were joking that the only way I would have kids is if the whole world was like literally kumbaya. And I said yes. Which the probability of that ever happening is, I don't know, not really here. So I just, knowing myself, I would just be mad with worry. I'd drive myself completely mad with anxiety trying to raise a child in this. So I utmost respect to mothers and fathers that choose to raise children in this. Man. They are the chosen ones. Parents who choose to raise children in this, whether it's in a Western empire or, in a developing country, God be with you, spirit be with you, ancestors be with you, because damn, what a time to be alive. But children bring in so much potential. Oh my gosh, she's adorable. Like, just so much potential. They bring in so much light and hope and optimism. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's Saturday. When you get this, I'll be in the middle of teaching school again. But there's only 6 more weeks, so I'm not too worried. I got papers that will be due, work to be done, tests and quizzes to take. It was a little bit warmer out today. All right. So yeah, that's just my sharing some inner thoughts. So if you too are struggling with mental fatigue, where you just feel stretched, you know what I'm saying? To the point where you're just staring, your alarm goes off and you're staring, you haven't moved, because you're thinking of the whole list of things you have to do, and you just kind of, then an hour or 2 or 3 goes by, and then it's almost noon. I am there with you. I know it's not permanent. I know. I know. Grad school's a lot. If I wasn't in grad school, I literally would be planning on my next adventure. I swear to God. I swear to you. I would be planning on my next adventure. I don't know, maybe to another state or another country. But grad school, getting my master's degree is very important to me, and it's a priority. And if anything, it will benefit more than hinder in the long run. So may this message find you well and whole and happy and healthy, and and if you're going through something similar, my heart goes out to you. And again, it's just temporary stuff. There you go. I'm gonna take a nap. Bye.